Can we please get Tim Meadows out of this show? He doesn't need to be here.
I will say his character is going to die, and I am going to celebrate.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we made some mistakes. Not me, Brandon, and we owe an apology. An apology is owed. I think it's fitting that the man himself gives it, so I'm going to turn you over to the man of the hour, my co-host, Brandon, aka Parrotfish.
Hello, Internet. If you do not know who I am, you might know my face. I was recently reacted to by the one and only Wafello, or Andrew from the Escape Pod. What did he react to? You might ask. Well, I might have crashed out a little bit. I might have said some things that maybe I shouldn't have. I wasn't a big fan of his Spider-Verse take, and I've done some reflecting, and I just have one more thing to say to you, Andrew, and that is that your opinions suck, your podcast sucks, your co-host has way better opinions than you do. Alex is the GOAT. And yeah, so thank you for reacting to us. It means a lot. Big fans. Yeah, thank you so much. Carson, do you want to talk about new Superman movie coming out? 2027, I believe.
Yes, let's talk about Man of Tomorrow. Sidetrack. Let's talk about Man of Tomorrow. Also, nice suit, by the way. I love it.
Thank you. I got the Star Wars tie on because Star Wars was brought up in the argument, so I had to show up and Star Wars hat.
Look, man, you gotta dress for your best. Yeah, let's talk about Man of Tomorrow. I'm genuinely excited about this. I was watching the movie with my mother because she hadn't seen it yet, and I went and saw it with her. And then I walk out of the theater, and lo and behold, Man of Tomorrow was announced. I didn't see it directly from James Gunn. I know other people were involved in it. I know people created the artwork specifically. I don't know exactly who is involved, but I also didn't see it from James Gunn first. I know I saw it from one of the
I didn't either. I can't remember who. It might have actually, funny enough, been the Escape Pod who did a short reaction. It was either them or it was Coy, our Lord and Savior.
All Hail Supreme Leader Coy Jandro.
Yes, our Lord and Savior. I think it was either one of them. I didn't see it because I think it was released on Twitter by James Gunn, and I spent zero time on Twitter. So
I don't spend time on Twitter. No, I just don't use it. No, I like the artwork. I think the artwork in and of itself is exciting enough because the idea that they're just outright revealing Lex's power armor, which I think we knew that was coming at some point. Lex is going to don that armor. He's going to fight Superman hand in hand. We knew that was coming at some point in this universe. It was just a matter of when was it actually going to happen. And I think that I like the way the armor looks. I get it's only an animated cartoon drawing, but that armor is also very much it's a part of Lex Luthor and that character.
Yeah, it's a major part of his comic book lineage in terms of the Lex power armor.
And so look, I don't fully know. I'm not familiar with the Man of Tomorrow story. I've never read it. Granted, I don't read a lot of DC comics. I'm still currently working my way through Secret Wars, which is really, really good, by the way. So I've never read the comics. I tried doing a little research. I read something about Lobo, but I don't think that's accurate. It could be accurate. I don't know why it would be though, because I'm pretty sure Lobo is playing a part in Supergirl. If I'm incorrect, please somebody correct me. But I'm pretty sure Lobo is the main villain of Supergirl. So I mean, I guess Lobo could play a villain in Man of Tomorrow. He could come back into the fold, but I would have imagined that he just would have
no, from what I've heard, Lobo is supposed to play a major role in this. And my question is Lobo, I guess no, because Lobo is confirmed for Supergirl. So this isn't going to be the first time we see it. I don't know. That is.
Well, we know for a fact that Momoa is cast as Lobo.
Yeah, that was confirmed immediately.
That was confirmed immediately. I don't know if they said exactly which film they confirmed for, but actually, as we're sitting here thinking about this, I do remember, and I don't know if the title's still the same, but originally the title for the Supergirl movie was Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. So in my mind, maybe they were originally planning to adapt the Man of Tomorrow storyline, but for Supergirl, and that's why Lobo was the main villain. So maybe they completely shifted courses and they changed the Supergirl story again, and now they're actually doing Superman or Man of Tomorrow to actually be like a Superman comic. I don't know. It's messy. The timeline for like what's happening is messy.
Well, because I know we spoke a little bit about this as well, and you brought up timeline. I know you're talking about like DC timeline, but I know we spoke a little bit about this in terms of your concerns with
Yeah,
how fast the turnaround time is because it's 2027. I think it's like what June 2027 or something like that. Maybe I'm getting
yeah,
the exact month wrong, but it's 2 years away. That means that they're gonna have to start filming pretty soon. Which is
yeah.
maybe why they announced it now because they're probably ramping up to do filming.
No,
Um,
I'm not saying that things can't go on in the background. I'm not saying that they can't get things done without people knowing. It's very well possible. I just think that with today's day and age, to make a movie as big as Superman was, or which granted took almost 3.5 years to make when it came to writing the script. Like I think 3 years, no, not 3 years, 2 years prior to the movie coming out, we got like our first shot of David Cornsweet in the suit in
yeah.
the apartment with the space imp in the background. Like that was the first shot we had officially
I
gotten.
think I think the difference is, and I totally get where you're coming from. I think the only difference is that you had to build from scratch. You had to cast your Superman, you had to cast
Sure,
your Lois, you had to cast your Lex.
sure.
You've already cast Supergirl and Lobo. I don't know what other main characters other than maybe the villain if Lex I think Brainiac is supposed to be the villain from, like, the rumors and slight confirmations.
Yeah.
So what, you have one additional character to cast? You're not starting from scratch, and he's obviously taking very heavy influence from the comics. Not saying that he doesn't have to write anything, but
Right.
I do think that there is a big difference between yes, it took maybe 3.5, maybe 4 years to go from 0 to Superman. You're going from like 60% to Superman 2 now. You only have to finish the actual production of this movie, not the pre-work, as
Sure.
much pre-work as typically comes.
Sure.
And for all we know, he already wrote this movie when he was writing the first Superman.
Well, and
Like,
that's what I was saying earlier when it's like things can happen without people knowing. Like, yes,
yeah,
it's harder nowadays, especially with a big corporation like DC or like Marvel. Things are often going to get out. Even WWE, like they try to hide things from people, and people can easily guess or can easily assume, like, oh, this person who hasn't been around for 10 years is going to return, or this person who was caught up in allegations is now clear to those and is going to return this Friday or something. Like things can happen without people knowing. It's just a lot harder nowadays. And so I'm kind of surprised that we all knew a Superman sequel was coming. I think they even announced that a Superman sequel was coming. It was just a matter of the
it's supposed
turnaround
to be a
process.
trilogy or 4 movies. He confirmed how many it's gonna be, and I can't remember if it was a trilogy. I think it was 4 movies
Well,
for
I
specifically
yeah.
Superman.
Well, I but I also it just it goes back to saying like it's just the timeline and it concerns me. Again, I have utmost faith in James Gunn. Almost every single project he turns out is never bad. It's at least good. Like as much as I don't think Guardians 2 is the best thing ever, I still enjoy Guardians 2. Is it the weakest of the Guardians movie and probably the weakest of his entire filmography? Yeah, there's probably a strong chance and argument for that.
Yeah.
Um, but it's certainly not bad. So he can at least turn out good products that, have heart, have character. They're funny. It's just because it's Superman and how good that first movie is and how well it was received, it makes me worried. Especially when you also add into the fact that, and this is the more exciting part, is we are getting Superman and the Batman 2 in the
Yeah.
same year.
2027 is, like, insanely
It
stacked.
is a
Um,
stacked year, I think specifically
yeah.
for Warner Brothers though.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have Secret Wars in
Yeah.
2027. But honestly, if we're looking at like DC's filmography, I might genuinely be more excited for those two than I am for Secret
Well,
Wars.
so
Depending on how like Doomsday goes and how that whole picture looks. We still barely know anything.
yeah, one thing I did wanna say that I thought about is obviously the closest, like, direct comparison for superhero movies is Marvel, and I think one thing that separates the way that Marvel started out and the way that DC is starting out in terms of their cadence of releases and maybe how fast they're turning around movies is all of the movies that have at least the Superman, Supergirl, and Superman 2 movies are all very connected to each other.
Sure.
Iron Man 1, Thor, and Captain America had like zero connect, like very, very limited connection to each other.
Right.
I don't remember how fast they pumped those out in comparative to each other, but you can
Uh,
many superhero movies all in a pretty quick cadence
yeah.
if there's minimal tie-in. The concern that comes in is when, okay, you just got done filming and shooting Superman 1. Now we have to immediately go into writing Superman 2, filming all this. But you also have to do Supergirl in the middle of that. And on top of that, we already know that there's some other big projects that I guess James Gunn is less involved with, and that's not as big of a concern because you have like
Right.
Clayface that's already started filming,
Yeah.
which I'm really excited for.
Clayface
But
is gonna be cool. Brave and the Bold is supposed to be starting, which I think Gunn is genuinely more
no, I
involved.
thought Brave and the Bold got shelved for now.
Did it get shelved?
I'm pretty sure Brave and the Bold, because that was supposed to be Batman's introduction, got like temporarily paused.
Okay.
From what I remember, I could be wrong.
Well, I know that I'm trying to think of like things that are like what have they now announced with DC that like I can't remember like because I will also say when Gunn announced almost all the DC stuff like 2 years ago for what he wanted to do,
There
most of
are
it
some
was like
things that have changed.
well,
Brave and the Bold, I'm
it's
pretty sure is the
changed, but
biggest.
but it's also it was all mostly obscure or at least characters that nobody really knows that much about unless you're a diehard
Yeah,
DC fan. Like there were some things on
Peacemaker
the
being one of them, and,
Peacemaker was one of
God, what
them.
was the other one? It was, well, Creature Commandos, that was what technically started the DCU if you don't count
Yeah,
Peacemaker. That
yeah.
was no one's ever heard of the Creature Commandos. Then there was another one, that's supposed to tie into both Creature Commandos and Peacemaker. That's another group. I can't remember what it's called, but that one also, I think, got, like,
That
paused for now. I
that's what I
think
was
you know
trying
what
to
I'm
think
talking
about.
about.
No,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. That I was hoping you were gonna remember, but like that's my point. I can't even remember what it was. Not that I
Yeah,
think it's
because
gonna be
no
bad
one's
or that
ever
I wasn't
heard of it
excited about it, but nobody's really ever heard about it unless you're a diehard DC fan, which we aren't diehard DC fans. We like DC, but we don't know every nook and cranny about every single DC thing. If it's
Yeah.
Batman, probably. I probably could actually give you everything Batman. If it's Superman, I probably give you everything Superman. Flash, probably. I
Well,
honestly ashamed about it. I don't know that much about Green Lantern. I really don't, and I kind of want to because I like that character. I just never took the time to actually sit down and like learn more about that character.
yeah, well, and a big difference between, like, Green Lantern and Superman is, like, yes, Superman has changed over the years in the comic books. Obviously, there's been New 52, there's been different renditions of Superman, but it's always Superman. With Green Lantern, not only do you have the new renditions, you also have multiple different Green Lanterns. You have your Hal
Sure,
Jordans, you have your John Stewarts, which
Guy
is kind
Gardner.
of what, yeah, your Guy Gardners. That's kind of what the TV show is going to tackle with the Lanterns.
Right,
The Lanterns TV show
right,
is
right.
multiple Green Lanterns. And yes, it can be hard to keep up with and know everything about all of them. I know there's diehard Green Lantern fans out there. But one thing I wanted to talk about, kind of to wrap up our thoughts on this,
Yeah,
is James Gunn has made good movies. He's made great movies. He made all three Guardians movies. He made Superman, which
sure.
I'm not lower on than most. I just don't. It's not my movie of the year, like I feel like it is for a lot of people.
Right.
We'll talk about that a little later because maybe my list has changed. But we we can trust James Gunn to take characters that no one's ever heard about and make you care about them.
Yes.
Again, Guardians of the Galaxy, no one knew about them. Creature Commandos, no one knew about them. And while I do think Creature Commandos is slept on, I really enjoyed Creature Commandos. Peacemaker, I think, would be the best DC example. Is no one ever, and he also did make a lot of changes to all of the properties that are more
Sure.
obscure. But I think that's where James Gunn has fun, is taking characters that no one knows about and no one cares about, and that gives him the freedom to make a lot more changes than if
Sure.
he were to adapt a Superman or a Batman. There's a lot more constraints in terms of fan opinion and how you please
Sure.
the fans. again, he did a really good job with Superman. So he has proven now that he can do characters that people know and care about.
Yeah.
But there is something to James Gunn's ability to make you care about characters. So that's why, like, yes, we might not remember every property because not most of them are known. I can still put most of my trust into James Gunn to at
Yes.
least give me a pretty good movie.
I agree with that. I don't disagree with you. Shout out James Gunn. You are quite literally honestly, hot take. James Gunn might be the best comic book
Wrong.
director.
Wrong.
Really? Do you still think it's the
It's
Russo
the
brothers?
Russo brothers.
You still think it's the Russo
No,
brothers?
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Everyone thinks of the Russo brothers because of Endgame and Infinity War, which obviously is big. We're forgetting that he also directed one of the other best movies of not just super. He directed Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier and Civil War.
Exactly. Like, yes, James Gunn is great. Might be second place. In terms of, because here's the thing, Christopher Nolan's Batman movies are like pretty much unmatched in terms of like just great movies. But Christopher Nolan is not a comic book director. He did 3 Batman movies. That's it. He's out. Right. The Russo brothers and James Gunn are very different. They're a lot more, not solely focused on superhero movies, but that's kind of their niche that they're really good at, as opposed to a Christopher Nolan. So I still give it to the Russo brothers. However, we talked about this before. We'll see how Doomsday and Secret Wars goes.
Right.
The Russo brothers give me some confidence because they're good at making superhero movies. I don't trust what Marvel, aside from the Russo brothers, have done to the universe in terms of setting up for those movies. I still love a lot of the movies. I don't feel like they're setting up for Doomsday and Secret War.
Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, which we both did say, like, if anything else failed, at least that, like, those 2 films made us excited for Doomsday because we have 2 whole groups of characters now where we're like, oh, that's actually really good. Let's keep that. Like, at least we have that. And then, as much as we, are mad at the chair reveal, I am still excited to see the X-Men. I'm excited to see James Marsden return. I'm excited to see Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. That's going to be my bread and butter. That's where I'm going to stand up and clap, even if the dialogue's atrocious, is seeing those 2 on screen again. But I don't disagree with you. I think the Russo brothers may be better at directing comic films. There could also be a chance, and we can debate this in a later conversation if we want off camera, but could it also just be like that James Gunn still may be the better director, but the Russo brothers are better at taking a ton of characters and putting them in a movie and finding a way to direct it?
No,
could that also be the argument?
Winter Soldier didn't do that. Yes, Civil War, Avengers Endgame, but
Civil War didn't do
Winter Soldier, to a lot of people, I'm not saying myself, but to a lot of people, is better than Civil War, Endgame, and Infinity War. And that focuses on a lot more of a narrow scope than something like an Infinity War, even a Civil War. So I don't think it's the whole group character. You might yes, they are mainly known for their Avengers films, but again, Winter Soldier is the standout of
some people would consider that to be the best of all their right.
There are a lot of people that consider Winter Soldier to be the best Marvel movie, and I'm not going to argue with them. I loved Winter Soldier. But yeah, moving off of this conversation.
Yeah, let's open. After so much time has passed, let's finally open. Let me just do this really quickly because we're kind of already on the topic that we were going to start with anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, the only podcast in the world where your 2 favorite Nimrods talk all things nerdy. Oh, I am your host this evening, Carson, aka Juggernaut, here with my forever co-host,
Brandon, aka Parrotfish.
And today we're talking about 2 different topics, continuing our Peacemaker talk of season 2. And talking about a movie that I was very anticipated for, Caught Stealing. Before we get into both of these discussions today, I'm going to go ahead and issue this now. Spoiler warning for everything we talk about. You are going to get spoiled, especially with Peacemaker. Holy crap. There's a lot to digest and a lot to talk about. So if you haven't seen the episode, go back, watch it, then come back here. Or if you really don't care, welcome. We did warn you. And Caught Stealing, a pretty good film that we're going to talk about. If you'd like to watch the movie for you, same thing. You get where I'm going with that. But before we get into our talk, Brandon, buddy, I know you got cooked this week, but how you feeling?
I do want to add a little addendum now that we're out of the bit in the cold open. That was a joke. That was solely a joke. I love Andrew. All respect to him. He is way better at this than we are. We are babies in the industry. We're just having fun here because he reacted to me. This will probably be attached to the end of
Yeah, I
it.
was going to say, you're going to attach us at the end, aren't you?
Yeah. I wanted to add that in now that we're out of the bit. Anyways, I'm good actually. It's been a pretty good week. I've done quite a bit. I'm gonna. I have a few things to talk about before we get into our discussion. I'll try not to drag on too long. One, I wore a wig because of Silk Song. The question is, have I played Silk Song? Yes, I have. Unfortunately, I'm only 30 minutes in because I've been a lot busier this weekend than I anticipated. But I am loving it so far. I've watched a lot of other people play Silk Song as well. So again, 30 minutes in, very cursory thoughts. I will be posting a short once I'm a little deeper in. I'm probably going to grind it out after I edit this podcast and post it. But I'm a huge Hollow Knight fan. I have a lot of hours in that game. Hollow Knight Silk Song, honestly, I don't want to call it a better Hollow Knight because I'm too early into the game, but it is beautiful, like stunningly gorgeous. The gameplay feels just as great. The only thing, and I know a lot of people have a problem with this, is the diagonal slash. I am still getting used to that. I have defeated my first boss. Did it take me multiple attempts? Maybe, but I'm also a little rusty. I haven't played Hollow Knight in like 2 years. So yeah, I'll post a short on my full thoughts on Hollow Knight once I'm probably not beat the game, but a little bit further in so I can get a more concrete thought. But I just wanted to address that since I wore the wig for it. Did I play it? Yes, I have, and I'm going to be playing it more. I honestly wish I had a Steam Deck so I could play it on my commute to work on the metro, but I don't have a Steam Deck. I've talked about getting a Steam Deck. It's expensive. But another thing I wanted to talk about, and Carson, this isn't going to be as much of a back and forth, but I hinted in the cold open that I might have a new favorite movie of the year.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to review it on the podcast this week. So I'm going to go ahead and give my thoughts because I don't know if we're going to review it on the podcast, which sucks because I really want to talk about this movie. I might force Carson to watch it just so that we can talk about it. That would be Neja 2. I saw like the last screening in I live in a pretty populated area and there's like no screenings for this movie. It released like a week and a half ago and it was really hard to find. Unfortunately, I didn't even see it in IMAX. I saw it in standard, but it is beautiful. First of all, the animation, unbelievably gorgeous. The storyline, I was crying. And here's the thing. I watched Neja 1 right before this. Like, legitimately, I finished Neja 1's credits, put my shoes on, walked out the door, and saw Neja 2. I did not. I heard, obviously, great things about Neja 2, but I was like, Neja 1 was kind of okay. It's a good movie, but it's nothing to write home about. It's an enjoyable time, but you're not going to be praising it from the hilltops.
Sure.
This movie, I am praising from the hilltops. I posted a short about this, but I want to. Again, I think it's unfortunately out of like every theater now because they screwed over this movie. But if it comes to streaming, the first one's on Tubi. This one will probably be on Tubi. So totally free with ads, by the way. Like it's on Tubi. So, or the first one is. This one probably will be later. The storyline was amazing. The characters are amazing. Like I did not expect to feel as much as I felt. I was sobbing. There was one other person in the theater with me, so I didn't really feel ashamed of my reactions to the movie like I typically do because I'm a very I don't play a bit role. Whenever I'm big, I have a big personality. Sometimes I can keep it tame, but I react big to things, and so I was able to react big, which was fun because it enhanced my experience of the movie. Again, would have loved to see it with people, but still, that did give it a different type of experience. So, if you have any opportunity to see Neja, do it. Do you? You know, this is a question that I'll address before I kick it back to Carson. Do you need to see Neja 1 before seeing this movie? A lot of people online will tell you no. I very strongly disagree. Yes, this movie does recap the important events from Neja 1, probably assuming that you didn't watch Neja 1. But I think that yes, I thought the first movie was only okay to good. I still think that I would have not felt near as much for Neja 2 and the reasons I got emotional if I hadn't watched Neja 1. So technically you can. I would say it might and probably will hinder your experience from my personal thoughts. But Carson, I know you haven't seen it. Now I know you're zoned out of this, so I'll go ahead and
And
kick it back to you to ask how you're doing.
not zoned out, just looking up stuff, pulling up IMDb stuff while I'm thinking about it. Yeah, no, I'm doing all right. It's been a very long week. It's been a long weekend. I went to HHN last night again. Got more houses done, more than I had done in the past. Uh, but I enjoyed the event this year. Talking a little bit about it, last year's event, was just okay. It wasn't anything to write home about. If anything, it was the first year where, come the last day of being there, I was not sad about it. I was actually okay with just letting it go. Like, usually I can get upset about it because it's like, oh, this is really good. It was really fun. We're never going to get any of this again. This year was like, or last year was like, it's fine. It can go. It really wasn't that impressive. This year is a great return to form. They have some really cool houses, some really cool scare zones, and just the overall oh my god, the atmosphere there is insane. It's like 3 hours still for FNAF just to get in the line. My friend and I, we hopped in line when it was 60 minutes, and we were lucky enough it was actually accurate to 60 minutes. It's never accurate to that time. And so it's insane there, man. I cannot tell you how busy it is. But I had a great time last night. I've had a great time going, so I'm excited to continue and seeing what goes up, what goes down on my list, because it never stays the same when you go. You
Well,
get different runs and whatnot.
I have a few questions actually. I didn't get the chance to ask you this because I know you've had a busy week.
Sure.
But do you like actually get scared in the haunted houses? Like
So not
I've known you for a long time, and you don't strike me as someone that would like pee their pants from walking through a haunted house.
so the difference is, like, this is not like I want you to be able to go to this one time, even if it's not your cup of tea, just because I want you to. It's me saying it
Yeah.
doesn't do it justice.
I don't like haunted houses. I've been through one singular one in my entire life when I was a child, and I made my mommy carry me through it because I was too scared, and I've never gone back to a haunted house because I'm a little baby.
Well, I just mean, like, me saying now and describing to you, like, what the atmosphere is, what it's like being in those houses, it doesn't do it justice. There are puppets, there are animatronics, there are so many things that bring these houses to life, and these characters do such a good job. This is not just a haunted house, like another haunted house. This is genuinely like an event, a scare event. Like, you're there to get scared. That being said, answering your question, do I get scared? Every now and again, I will jump, whether it's because I'm tired and I'm just not on guard, or I had a drink and I'm a little, buzzed and whatnot, and I can get scared easier. It's not so much anymore is the best way to say it. And it's just because I've gone to the event for 8 years in a row now, and I've become so desensitized to being scared that I can just walk in and be more amazed by the practical sets that they have, the way the scare actors just doing their job. I'm more drawn into that than I am so much being scared.
Yeah, you
But
go more for the experience than to actually be scared. Yeah,
I do every now and again jump, and I do every now and again get scared. Especially in, like, certain moments where it's like, so last year they did a house. This was like the only, in my opinion, good house they did, was Insidious. And the house itself was fine, but there was one section where it was probably, I want to say, by walk, it was probably about a minute, and it was just red curtains, weaving, twisting, turning, just a bunch of red curtains. And the issue was is you didn't know where the guy was going to hop out from because it's a bunch of red curtains. That was a bit on edge for me because I genuinely didn't know where he was going to come out at. Kind of scary. It's moments like that where I'm like, okay, I can get scared in those moments. Most of the time, it's just not like I don't really get that scared anymore when it comes to that event.
Yeah, that's fair. Because one thing I heard, and this will be the last question because I know we have a lot to cover today.
Yeah.
Do they have the problem at Halloween Horror Nights that I've heard from people before, where it's so overcrowded that when you go in, you can still see the people in front of you, or do they do a good job about giving distance so it feels like an isolated experience?
Every now and again, you will get that.
Okay, like you'll get an isolated experience, or you'll get people that are in front of you.
Every now and again, you will get an isolated experience. Usually, there are people in front of you, but because everybody just because I don't get scared doesn't mean that other people won't. People are running through the house sometimes. They are scared out of their minds. So even if you start off with people, 15 seconds later, you can be completely on your own.
Yeah.
Which usually will end up happening with me because I like taking my time walking through it. And so, like, even if I don't get like all the scares at first, they're giving it to the people who are scared in front of us. We will eventually get them because, oh, there's like a massive break in between people. Oh, here's some people. Let's scare them, you know? So it's every now and again. It's not every time. Sometimes you're going through an entire house, and sometimes you can even get stuck in a house. Like I've been stuck in a house for about 2 minutes before in the exact same spot, and you can see this character, and you're just like, hey, man, long night. You're just standing there. It's no, dude. Like, but me even saying it, like, it just it doesn't do it justice. They do such a good job putting on that event. It is definitely their bread and butter. I'll
Okay.
say that much.
Yeah, no, I'll go. I was supposed to go with you previously, and then it just kind of fell through.
Fell flat.
But
Yeah.
I'll
Mhm.
especially when I move back to Florida. Like I'm
You'll go
not
one
gonna
night.
guarantee that I'll go with you every time, but like we'll
No,
go.
no, no, no. But you can go one night. Sure.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Sure. Let's sidetrack. Let's talk about Peacemaker because I've got a lot I want to say about this episode in particular, but I'm going to let you start first. Go ahead and give me your generic thoughts on episode 3 of season 2 of Peacemaker.
Yeah, so I watched it, like, honestly, I finished it, like, right before we started recording the podcast. I wanted to watch it last night while I was building a Gundam, but I wanted to pay attention to the episode, and so I threw something else on in the background, I didn't have to pay as much attention to.
Sure.
Unfortunately, I got locked in. I'll talk about it maybe next week on what I was watching. But I, I was I don't want to call it a hater, but I had my thoughts on the last two episodes. I didn't feel like they grabbed me as much as I guess, rest of the last season. And funny enough, there was a comment on one of the clips that we posted this week about that. They're like, yeah, I kind of agree. Like season two, it feels like they can't take anything seriously, was their comment.
Hmm.
And I would definitely agree with them to an extent. I think my problem still persists with like I still don't like Tim Meadows' character. The whole bird blindness joke is just annoying. Especially because like they had the whole thing in the hospital where it's like you said it was a duck. It's like, okay, this is those moments take me out of it. What
Yes.
puts me back in is, first of all, amazing action sequence. The
Oh yeah.
going through the tower,
Oh yeah.
absolutely amazing. The moments with hardcore, I actually did like those. I liked the moments where we flash back to Peacemaker's reality, and his friends are all having conversations, and Adebayo is confronting hardcore about her feelings. And I like all of those moments. Um I do agree though. Like this episode, I think is my favorite of the three.
Oh sure.
Um,
Oh absolutely.
just because again, that action sequence was just amazing. But even in the action sequence, obviously there's a lot of jokes in there, be it like the whole pencil pick 'em up type of thing, like stuff like
Sure.
that. But I'm a lot more forgiving of those than what feels like the forced humor that is the bird jokes and things of that nature. So
Right.
I enjoyed this episode a lot more. I will still say I'm not nearly as gripped as the first three episodes of Peacemaker season one, but I understand now where they're going with it a little bit more. There's something I definitely want to touch on, so let's not forget about it. The ending, I have my thoughts on it because there's something fishy going on that I want to
Yep.
cover.
Nah.
Actually, let's start with that after you give your thoughts. But yeah, I
So
enjoyed this episode, but I'm still more lukewarm than I want to be, admittedly.
If anything, I'm more hooked. So again, I'm not the complete opposite. Like I do see the complaints that you're talking about, and honestly, they might be my complaints. I'm just not holding them as high of a standard. I still think
Yeah.
this is significantly better than season one. The other person who I'm watching this with at the same time, other than you, my a mutual friend of ours, is saying the exact same thing. Like it's if you feel like you're hooked a lot easier on this season than you are the other. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it is just the fact that you don't have to set up anything. And it is purely just the character dynamics. Maybe that's what it is. Tim Meadows, I love the actor to death. Get him out of this show. The moment he came into the season or to the episode this week, and his first line was, "You almost got titties killed." I went, okay, so this is what we're doing. And he's just shouting things at people. Can we please get Tim Meadows out of this show? He doesn't need to be here.
I will say his character is going to die, and I am going to celebrate when that episode happens, when he inevitably dies. Because again, I understand, and I want to make this very clear. I understand that Tim Meadows' character is not supposed to be likable. I
No,
understand that he is a bit character. I understand all of that. That does not mean that I'm forced to enjoy it. I can still not enjoy the fact that he is a bit character. Is
it's
it the fact that he is a misogynist and stuff like that? Not necessarily. Peacemaker's also kind of a misogynist. Like, my problems with it is just the jokes are being forced down your throat
sure,
so much, and
sure.
most of them aren't funny. And that sucks because I love Tim Meadows is a hilarious actor. I want to make this clear. We both love Tim Meadows.
Yes.
Hilarious actor, done many, many things. But I don't know. I still don't I have my problems with it. Also, Joseph,
I
your face keeps getting cut off by the middle. I know you can't see it. Scooch a little bit to your there you go, buddy. Let's go. We're
God,
professionals here.
I was getting comfortable.
You're not allowed to. This is a podcast.
I was getting really comfortable. No, but there's just something about these few episodes that just especially from a peacemaker perspective. Like there's so much that he's offering in this, and there's also so much that we don't know still that I'm like, okay. But like last week I had brought up, and this kind of feeds into what you were talking about. So let me just say this first. I like the episode. It's definitely the best episode so far. I like what they did with it. Let's bounce off of what you kind of said, because what you wanted to talk about. Because last week I had mentioned that I had a theory that Peacemaker was going to go to this reality, and even though he had everything that he could have possibly wanted, everything was going to be worse for the people that are around him. And I think that stands true. But I was actually, it was literally last night. My friend, who he hadn't seen the new episode, he saw it last night, but it was after he like dropped us all off, and we were just kind of ranting about it. But he had come up with a theory because he had seen something from what somebody else had said, which was Peacemaker's living in this reality, and it's everything he could possibly want, but the world's still a mess. And the
Yeah.
theory and the running theory of like that I'm seeing is like the reason his dad is a good person and the reason his dad isn't like a racist or like a horrible human being is because in this world there's nothing to be racist about. And I was very confused by that theory. I didn't think about it. But then my friend yesterday, I didn't see it. I didn't go back and rewatch or scan through the episode. He watched the episode last night and he said, in the new reality that Peacemaker's in, there is no person of color. There is no other ethnicity. It is only white people.
So Adebayo doesn't exist in this reality.
Adebayo has not been shown in that reality.
Ooh.
And so
Granted, so has Economos. He hasn't been shown yet.
Economos hasn't been shown yet.
But that's actually interesting because the whole theory about like why his dad isn't evil, like one of the obvious ones is like, oh, well, his brother's alive, so maybe his brother never died. No, his brother died because he was a terrible person. So it was something way before we even saw core to his being, either an event or something like that, that made him not a racist. So that's actually quite interesting in terms of like, is it because there's no one for him to hate on, so therefore he can use his intellect and his capabilities for good? Because in the again, we do not defend the actions of the White
No,
Dragon.
no, 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 no,
Terrible
no,
person,
no,
terrible
no, no,
character.
no, no.
However, in his reality, he believes himself to be the good guy.
Right.
So he always saw himself as the hero. Now he has nothing. He can still see himself as the hero, but now there's not a reason for other people to look on him unfavorably.
Right. And the other part of the theory is that the universe that Peacemaker stepped into is I don't know what this fully is called. I feel like this is like a comic thing that we just didn't know about, but it's something called Universe X, which I don't know what that is, but it's something
Is that the
similar.
one with the Nazis in it? Because it's definitely not. It's very much not.
Are
Because the
are you sure?
I'm positive because there would be a lot more like if you like Google Universe X while I ramble here, just to make sure that I'm right on this. But if Universe X is the one with like the evil Superman, like the Nazis, where everything is taken over by Nazis, the world is very clearly like everyone's into it. And so I feel like we'd see that, like it'd be more obvious. Maybe I'm wrong here.
It is. But
Yeah.
the reason I bring that up, and the reason because this was a second part of the theory that my friend had that he didn't read about, but he thought was the reason that there's nobody to be racist about is because they're living in a reality in which Superman didn't land in Smallville, Kansas. He landed in Germany. They're living in a reality in which Superman is a
Well,
part of the
that is the whole story
no,
of
no, no, no.
Earth X. Yeah.
I'm saying that specifically because there's just like we know for a fact James Gunn's not afraid to go there, especially when you look at last season. He will fully go there. Clearly, he will go there.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if he does it here. And he does it on a grander scale,
So
especially because we also know that he did say this. This feeds back into when we were talking about Man of Tomorrow and when that released. When James Gunn released the post on his account specifically, he said, "Make sure you watch Peacemaker. It is a prequel to Man of Tomorrow."
yeah, it's a prequel to me. Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. I agree with you, and I think we've talked about this before, in the sense that something is off with this world. The whole like his dad not being a racist because of what have you. Honestly, you've kind of sold me on it. However, I definitely don't think this is Earth X. I think there is something else going on. Maybe it's just the way that the world came into, what have you. I don't think this is a spin on Earth X. That would be crazy if it was, because it's a very different feeling Earth X than we've ever seen before. Um, or maybe it's some rendition on it where it's tweaked with the James Gunnisms.
Sure.
But I I definitely agree that there's something off, and I don't know what that is. No, so it's funny because what I actually meant to say, and maybe I'm just completely wrong here, but I wanted to talk about the very end of the episode. I
Oh,
know we're
sure.
way out of order
No,
here,
no, no. It's fine. Go right
but
ahead.
you might be able to correct me. Maybe I'm just being stupid and I'm reading too much into nothing. At the end of the episode, Peacemaker goes back through the portal.
Yeah.
He is in the world with his brother and his dad as good guys, and he goes through the portal.
Correct.
However, where he comes out of the portal is not his house. But it's also not the library, because when he comes back, he comes into a bedroom,
Yeah.
specifically, if I remember correctly. We know that the door in his house is in the hallway. We know that the door that is at his good parents' house is in the library. So we have hallway
Sure.
and library, not bedroom. Now, I could be reading too much into this. Maybe I'm just forgetting something, but that was a little interesting, especially the way that Peacemaker was looking when he left, in the
Right.
sense of like
Right.
it made you think that he was going back to his reality.
Right.
I don't think that that's what happened, because one, why would he want to go back to his reality? He already has made his life here in the one
Right.
episode with having the conversation with Hardcore, having the conversation with his brother.
Right.
Interesting, we haven't seen his dad again. Maybe that's a
Right.
little bit of a hint as to what's going on with this world again.
Right.
But
Look, and again, I don't know because I did think about that too. I was like, is this his reality or did he go to another universe? At which point, if he did, what is he doing in another universe? What is the character's motivation for going to another universe? I'm not saying it's a bad choice. I'm not saying it's a choice that he probably wouldn't make. I just don't know. And so it's more
Yeah.
so like a curiosity. I don't know. And I know you're asking the question because you wanted clarification. I don't think I could actually tell you.
Well,
I don't know.
if you were able to provide clarification, that would have been great. I'm more asking in the sense of that was an interesting thing that I clocked immediately in the
Sure.
sense of something feels off here. But
Right.
since there's not much to talk about there, we'll have to continue that next week. Moving back to, I don't want to necessarily say the beginning of the episode, but the whole like, was that opening clip with hardcore in our Peacemaker universe, or was that in the Elseworld? Because I think it
so
was in our universe, so
so
you might
he
be able to.
I'm glad you brought this up because first off, I want to take this moment and you can clip this if you want. You don't have to clip this if you want. Brandon, I want you to acknowledge that I was right and that I knew that there would be a universe in this universe, Rick Flag Jr. was still alive.
Well,
I
yeah, that much, yeah.
I was so proud of myself for that because when he showed up on screen, he's like, "Oh my god, I got that correct." I was like, "Is Joel Kinnaman gonna show up? Is he gonna be in this?" And he was. I was out of my seat, like just so excited. Granted, do I think that he's probably the best actor? Yeah, he's fine. I think that Rick Flag Jr. is also just okay of a character. I liked his character in the Suicide Squad. Let me take that back. I really liked his character in the Suicide Squad. I thought he really added a lot. And so when he was here, I was like, that's great. I like this. Here's the answer to your question because I immediately thought about that the second we saw him in the universe. I think that is our universe, the main universe Peacemaker, and I don't think that's going to be revealed until later. I think Harcourt had a relationship with Flag Jr. I think Peacemaker killed Rick Flag Jr. and that's why it's hard for Harcourt to be in a relationship with Chris. I think that
Well,
that would make the most
okay.
sense, especially because at the end of the scene, she also says you're shipping out for Colder Maltese, and he also brings up Enchantress. He brings up how he was
Correct.
in a relationship with her, which also technically makes canon of the fact that Enchantress does exist in this universe. The canon of the Suicide Squad still, once again, is intact.
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
let you
yeah,
go now.
Rick Flag Jr. cheating on the Enchantress because they were in a
Right,
relationship at the time.
right.
Which I'm not gonna go on a rant about this. I hate cheaters. I'm notorious for hating cheaters.
Oh,
Fuck
sure.
cheaters. They're
Oh, sure.
terrible. I'm not gonna harp on this, but they make me immeasurably angry. Anyways, um, the um, so I agree. However, my only asterisk on that is I don't think hardcore knows because you have to remember this is a locked secret. And yes, hardcore works for Argus or she worked for Argus. I don't think she would know, right? Unless I'm forgetting something
She
because Rick Flag Sr. finds out only after he becomes the head of Argus because that file was under strict lock and key.
Yeah, the only difference is that I think she knows because correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure there's a line about it in Peacemaker season 1 somewhere where like, oh, you killed Rick Flag or you did all these horrible things. Like they know the events of Corto Maltese. They are in the Suicide Squad. Both Hardcore and Economos are in that film. They are working
Right?
for Task Force
No,
X.
you're yep. Sorry, I forgot. I haven't seen that movie in a while. No, you're right. So then yeah,
They-
she probably would know.
I was like, I feel like she probably would know. So it all goes back to my thing of I think the reason that she has a hard time bringing herself to have a relationship with Chris is not because she doesn't think that he's a good person or not that he isn't trying or that she doesn't actually like him. She probably does. But because of what she did to Flag, somebody who she probably really cared about, that's what's hard about it. And I think that we're going to find out that that scene is in our universe. Now, if it's in the alternate universe too, whatever, that's fine. I just think it's a missed opportunity to not give that bit to our universe's hardcore. And I think the other reason why it's so hard to tell and why it's so messy is because you can also tell when they're in an alternate universe based on the hair of hardcore, based on the way she's dressed, based on the way she looks. When she's in
Yeah.
the universe with uh I don't know how to say it.
With good peacemaker. Good
With
peacemaker parent.
good Peacemaker parents. When she's in that universe, she's dressed a lot nicer. She has like a skirt, shoes, button down shirt. When she's in our universe with the Suicide Squad and all of that, it's like a tank top and some black jeans. That's pretty much how you're
Yeah,
differentiating.
more rough around the edges, I guess, is the
I
best
think even like some
versus more put
curlier
together.
curlier hair or hair that curls easier. She has straightened hair in the other universe.
Yeah.
In the opening scene, you can't tell. You can't fully tell if it's like, oh, straight hair. Because I did try to go that was one thing I did go back and just try to look at photos. Like, is this that universe's hardcore or is this our hardcore? Like, I genuinely couldn't tell. And also, we wouldn't be able to tell because she could have completely had straight hair at that time back during the Suicide Squad because that's before the Suicide Squad. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
I know I'm saying a lot at once, but like, I think you get what I mean. Like, it's just
No,
impossible to tell.
yeah, no, I definitely do. And again, maybe we're both stupid and it's supposed to be easy to tell, but for me and I guess for you as well, there was definitely like a guise of like which one is this? So I'm
Correct.
curious to see where they take that storyline. Maybe she's working cuz my only thing is it's very clear that it's not the sense that hardcore is like working deep cover to get revenge on Chris because of killing Rick Flag Jr. because she
Right.
wouldn't push him away as much. That would just make it that would kind of defeat
No.
her own purpose.
Right.
The only thing that would make sense is if she's just angry about it. That would be the only thing that'd be like, okay, I guess that makes sense on why she's pushing Chris away
Right.
more is because she knows what he did and therefore is angry about it.
Because the other thing you also got to keep in mind is they are clearly friends. Like that didn't change. Like they are still friendly. They still have conversations. The whole episode 2 had an ending with them all being on the roof. They had a whole ass conversation with each other
Yeah,
in which they're just like being friendly and having a conversation. So it's clearly like they are able to be friends. There's clearly something there. I think that's what's holding them back. I don't have a lot more theories beyond that. There were a lot of theories that ended up coming out of this episode, and I don't know whether they were my own or whether they were my friends that I'm just kind of talking about now. But there was a lot that this episode was able to give, and I am more intrigued. This is why I also feel like this season's better. I'm more intrigued with the mystery of this season than I ever was with season 1. Season 1 was cool and there was a mystery and it had some moments. This has just such a deep context. Like, I really want to see where this goes. And I want to see what
yeah,
happens. Because also, James Gunn did also say there are some cameos that have yet to come up. Like, there's some people who have yet to appear. I want to know if Superman's going to appear. I want to know if it is a prequel to Man of Tomorrow. I want to see if that character appears. I want because like there was not a set leak, but there was a photo that David Cordsweat posted with him and I think it's Jennifer Holland, who is Hardcore or James Gunn's wife. There is a photo going around with him having a selfie with her. He could be in this season, maybe albeit in a small character form. He could be in this season. I want to know if Lex Luthor's in this. I doubt that one. Of all the ones, I actually
yeah,
doubt
no,
that.
I
I would
there
doubt
might be
that one.
references. I mean, there are heavy references to Superman. I mean, the whole reason not the whole, but one of the reasons that they're going after Peacemaker so hard
Right.
is because of the split. Now,
Right.
my opinion on that, and I think it's pretty clear, is that Rick Flag Sr. is using that as a cover to get revenge on Peacemaker.
Yes.
He's
Yes.
using the event of Superman and the fact that Peacemaker has a dimensional rift in his house as an excuse to get revenge on Peacemaker. I think that's
Right.
very clear. But I have a question for you. What are your thoughts on Economos? I kind of complained about them repeating the character beat of someone betraying them last week, but this week we had a definitive moment with Economos, and you can call it not definitive all you want. In my opinion, it's a pretty definitive moment where they're about to actively like full on Argus raid Peacemaker's house,
Yeah.
and Economos is asked, "Hey, are you in?" And he says, "Absolutely not. I don't want to be any part of this." And you're like, "Oh, good, Economos standing on business." And they're like, "Oh, you're gonna lose your job." And he's like, "Sign me up." And it's like, okay, buddy, I get it. You don't want to be without a job, but at the same time, it definitely shows where his priorities lie. And I think that is going to be a conflict because at least with
So
Adebayo, she did the thing with the journal. Yes, that was very bad. She owned up to it and was helpful like immediately afterwards. Economos has already had 3 episodes where he's been working against them and shown that his priorities currently lie more with the having employment than
Well,
having his
we
friends.
know that the gang is gonna go after Chris, and I would imagine that before Argus goes after Chris, because they don't know what's happening. Here's what's funny is Adrian knows about this parallel universe. He knows what's beyond that door. He just hasn't said
Yeah.
anything to anybody yet. So the moment it said they're probably gonna go after Chris, Adebayo, Hardcourt, and Adrian. Economos probably won't. I think Economos is going to be the one to help them get past everybody so that they can get into the alternate universe, so they can go after Chris, so they can come up with a solution. I
So
think
he'll
that's
work
the role
as a
that he's
double
going to.
agent.
He's going to play the double agent role because you know that he does care more about Peacemaker and his friends. He clearly cares about that group more. But if you're going
Yeah.
to get fired, he's kind of being held at a nice edge. Like he really doesn't have like an option. So I think he's gonna Economist's role in this season is interesting because like it's okay, but it's really only gonna be more effective the moment like okay, he helps them get past, helps them get to the other universe, done and done.
Yeah. No, I it's definitely going to be interesting to see where his character progression goes in terms of how he cuz I do think they're going to redeem him. He's going to go back to his friends. I do
Sure.
think that. My only question is how far are they going to push this before they try to redeem him? And that will determine how forgiving I am in their redemption attempt. Because right
Sure.
now, after he made that whole thing of like, oh, my job is worth more than my friends, which again, you can make the argument on whether he's right or not with that. But
Oh,
the only reason why I have a problem with it isn't because he chose his job over his friends necessarily. Like, I do have a problem with that. It's because he knows that they're going there with a high chance of killing Peacemaker, and he still goes along with it. Maybe we're going to see a scene where he warns them. That I think easy way to circumvent all of this is in the next episode we see a scene where Economos is like texting on the side like Adrian, or he's texting at a bio or something like, hey, make sure Chris is at it. I don't think he'll text Chris directly, but have some sort of communications, and maybe that's what prompts them. Like maybe we just haven't seen this, and maybe Economos texted them, then they're on the move, they get into the dimensional rift first,
sure.
and there's the raid, and we just
Sure.
haven't seen that yet. I think that would actually do a lot for me. I'm not saying they have to do that, but I think that that would be a really good way
To
to
segue into it. Sure.
turn over what my thoughts on Economos is at the moment.
Sure. Yeah, but all in all, I like this episode. I'm excited to see where it goes next week. I let me take that back. I'm really excited to see where this goes next week. I like the ideas that James Gunn's throwing out there. Let's just keep the train moving. Let's see where they go. So far, it's another pretty good season.
Yeah,
Um,
Terry or Jerry or whatever that dude's name is that fell and blew to smithereens. Oh no, Terry!
oh, oh no, Terry. Great A class writing.
Terry or Jerry?
Thank you.
I'm sure they said both.
I don't even know.
That threw me off. I was like, am I just stupid? Did I just miss that?
No, but I wouldn't put it past you if they said both. I wouldn't put it past you if they said both because honestly, with a line like "You almost got titties killed" is so fucking stupid. I mean, look, like it's just come
Well,
on,
and the only
man.
reason why I think that would make it funny for me if they did say the wrong name is because it shows like, oh, these terrorists like are disorganized and don't know each other all that well. Because we didn't talk about it all that much. Like we hinted at it mainly because it was just a big action set piece. But the
Yeah,
main conflict in the other world is seemingly this terrorist organization that's blowing up government buildings for an
right,
unknown reason.
right.
Maybe it has something to do with why, and I think this could be how they play in how they tie this all together. That terrorist organization has something to do with why Peacemaker's dad is good, or why
Sure,
Peacemaker determines that he wants to leave the world.
sure. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Curious. I'm curiouser and curiouser about it. Let's talk. Let's talk about caught stealing. I before I let you give your thoughts, I'm prefacing this with this is probably one of my most anticipated films of the year. I remember even prior to MegaCon seeing the like set photos and Matt Smith with the mohawk, Austin Butler, and being like super excited for this movie, especially when they gave the concept. I thought it was extremely unique. I remember the first trailer coming out, not being very excited about it. I was like, this didn't blow me away or anything. And now we're here with all the good reviews and we saw the movie. I'm really curious to know your thoughts because this is definitely a very different type of film than you would ever normally go to watch. So I really want to know, Brandon, what are your thoughts on Caught Stealing?
So yes, this was a special request from Carson. This movie is one that Carson wanted to review on the podcast, and I was like, sure, absolutely. Like I thought the trailers were interesting enough to warrant watching it and turning this into an episode. And let me correct you a little bit. This isn't necessarily a different type of movie than I normally watch. It is a
Sure.
different type of movie than I typically go to the theater for.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
from the trailer, this is a lot more of the type of movie that I'd like watch with you on the sofa at my parents' basement back when we were
Right.
in high school or
Right.
something like that. Like
Right.
that's what this movie struck me as. Now, having seen it in theaters after to review this for the podcast, I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. It very much I think the thing that I enjoyed the most about it is I thought that I knew where this movie was going to go at every step of the way. It kept circumventing my expectations. And I'm not going to get into that right now, even though we're in spoilers. Okay, I'll just say it. When the girlfriend dies, blew my mind. I was like, wow, okay, this movie's willing to go there. The betrayal, I clocked it during the conversation at the thing, but I still kind of was caught off guard. Like this movie kept throwing in twists and turns that had me really engaged. Like it took me a second to get into the movie, I will admit, especially because a lot of the trailer is the setup to the movie. There are some scenes from later on, but it comes together in a way that really surprised me how much I enjoyed it.
Sure.
So I think that the way that the story ends, I kept asking myself, like, how is this movie going to end? How is he going to get out of this? Where is he going to go? Thinking back, it makes total sense. So
Right.
I really had a lot of fun. Is it going to make my top 10? I have not, other than the new number one spot, I have not re-looked at my top 10 yet. I don't know, but I can confidently say that I really enjoyed it. And I would encourage people who find the trailer interesting. Let me preface that because, again, what you get in the trailer is what you get in the movie for the most part. But if it at all seems interesting, I think it's a good time. I think it's a fun watch. So we'll get way more into it in our back and forth. But Carson, I know you're itching to talk about this because it was one of your most anticipated movies. So I'm excited to see, did it live up to your expectations? Am I higher on this movie than you were, the one who requested this? Let's see.
So this film is exactly what I thought it was going to be. And I want to start off by saying this. I think this film, like when I see trailers or I see concepts for films that I go, that is going to be a bold swing, and it's either going to be a huge swing and a miss, or it's going to be a huge swing and it just a home run. This film was definitely a home run. Not saying there's things about it that I don't like. There's definitely things about it I don't like.
Yeah.
But this has an all-star cast. And I think okay, there was a film that came out in I think 2021, and it was called Amsterdam. You never saw this film, but it was Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, uh, uh, Rami Malek, like the all star cast. Like it had a huge cast of a lot of stars. I saw that and went, that is going to be at least an interesting film, and it was really just okay. It was fine at best, but I did predict that it was going to be okay. It was just going to have a huge cast. Here, it's kind of the same thing, where it's like, I watched this film in theaters. I may watch it again. I might get a wild herring if somebody else wants to watch it again, and I'd watch it with them. Or I may watch it again on my own at another point. This is not the type of film that I thought I was going to rewatch over and over again, but I thought I would really enjoy it because of who is in it. Austin Butler steals the show, and he is
Oh,
once again
yeah.
proven that he is a rising actor to be reckoned with. Elvis, Dune 2, The Bike Riders, which is when I'm going to heavily reference to this when I'm talking about this film because I loved The Bike Riders. It was probably my favorite film from last year. I think that he steals every scene he's in, and then when he is paired up with Zoe Kravitz, Matt Smith, Vincent D'Onofrio, and
Yeah.
friggin' Liev Schreiber of all
Yup.
people, but Bad Bunny, who somehow is in this movie. You know, it's just the strangest choices, but they work so well. The acting in this movie is incredible. The cinematography in this movie is really, really good. And the story itself, I don't really have anything really to complain about this story. I think this story has a lot of mystery. I like the idea that this guy is just thrown into the middle of this because Russ is the biggest idiot ever. I like that you're going on this mystery with him from the perspective of this character, which is something you rarely see a lot now in films. You're given the mystery, but you're not really following it along with the main character anymore. It's just like the world itself. If you get what I mean when I'm saying it, like Knives Out,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
was
yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
last time you really got that, where you're following Benoit Blanc maybe it wasn't Knives Out, Glass Onion, where you're literally following Benoit Blanc as he's trying to figure out who did the murder, who caused this, why did this happen.
Yeah.
And so I really like that. I like that perspective of a storytelling. Um, I think it's written pretty good. I think there's just some strange choices within this film in which I'm like, okay, probably wasn't needed. Or I could see what you were trying to do. It didn't fall flat, but it didn't really pique my interest either. And we'll talk more in depth about those. But overall, I think the rating for it is pretty accurate. I think it's a competently made film. I think it's a really well acted film. It's an okay written film. I think again, cinematography is really beautiful. I just think that there's some strange choices in the film itself where I'm like, I could have taken or leaving that, but it was very very well done.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
fair. So let's start off with, I guess, what are some of those things that were the strange choices before we get into like what we loved about the movie. Let's talk about like what do you think were, because like I definitely can see, for me personally, there was some strange choices, but again, like this isn't a movie that I watch a lot of movies of this type, so I don't know if that's just a staple of the genre, I guess.
I think first off, one of the biggest ones was the way they utilized Matt Smith. He wasn't used poorly, and I'm okay with him being in the movie for as long as he was. But in the trailer, you really do hype up Matt Smith a lot more than you get for him in the movie. I'm okay with an actor being in the movie less time than what they probably are. Just don't promote him to be in the film as much because
Yeah, I mean
even
that's
in
kind
like
of a common problem nowadays.
even in set photos or in these leaks, it would say, "Oh, Austin Butler and Matt Smith star in Caught Stealing." Matt Smith is in the first scene of the movie, and then he doesn't come back. Because I started like timing it like when I got home because I just kind of like went through it in my head and then like actively did like some math. I shouldn't have done it. It was such a waste of time. But he doesn't come back in until halfway through the movie.
I thought it was later than halfway through, but yeah,
It wasn't even exactly like it is later, but it's like almost halfway, closer to halfway than 75%. But you get what I mean. He is in this a lot less. And again, I'm fine with it for the sake of the mystery. Austin Butler is the main character, and that's fine. I just wish you wouldn't have promoted the movie to be Austin Butler and Matt Smith to a certain extent, even if Austin Butler is technically the lead character. Because Matt Smith is a very good actor and he does great in this role. I like him in this role. I think he plays the the biggest idiot ever. But it was such a strange choice that especially in the trailer too. That was the biggest thing. It wasn't even so much the marketing. It was like, oh, Austin Butler and Matt Smith star in this. It was the trailer. They show almost all of his major scenes in the trailer. Like you pretty much see everything Matt Smith did in that trailer, and that's the
um,
unfortunate part.
I disagree a little bit in the sense of I feel like you're correct in the sense that we see every scene that Matt Smith is in leading up to when he leaves. And then I think the only scene from the trailers that I saw that you see from the second half was the scene with the money. Now, I do wish that we didn't see that in the trailer, like we didn't get the reason why everyone's chasing everyone around and what
Sure.
the like I wish that that was a little bit more of a mystery because I already knew before the big reveal because
Right.
of the trailer. Obviously, you didn't know how everyone came together and how all of this intertwined because you see there are multiple different actors with not actual actors, but like players in the game. You
Sure.
have the Jews, you have the corrupt police, you have the Russians, you have
Right.
like there's multiple parties involved. You don't know how all that connects, but you do know from the trailers that it has to do with the money.
Correct. Yes.
So I think that was like again, that's just I've ranted so much about trailers on this podcast. I'm not going to rant about them again, but that was something that I think was a weird choice. The Matt Smith one, I'm not as angry about that as you are, mainly just because I feel like he played his role perfectly for what he needed to do for the plot. I do agree that maybe they shouldn't have marketed him that hard, but at the same time, he's a big name actor. You know what it reminds me of? A movie that you probably forgot we watched this year, Karate Kid Legends, and the
Yeah.
way that they marketed Karate Kid Legends with the
Yeah.
Jackie Chan, like all these big names in this movie, and then they're barely in the movie.
Ralph Macchio, who's in the movie
Ralph
for like
Macchio, yeah.
10 minutes in total, and it's not even really like that long.
And the main posters, like the kid, Jackie Chan,
And Ralph
like,
Macchio,
yeah,
right.
it's so I understand the complaint because like pulling up the caught stealing poster, it is like, yeah, Russ isn't like a sole focus, but like he's there pretty like he's more prominent than the cat, and the cat his cat is on screen more than he is.
Right. Even Bad Bunny. Like, Bad Bunny's in the movie for about half of it. Yeah, because Bad Bunny is like, again, spoilers for the film. Bad Bunny is killed pretty quickly into the process when they're trying to crack open the safe, which is about halfway through the movie. It's at least before Rush shows back up, I know. And he's also like on the poster, pretty prominent. Look, they're big names. It's Vincent D'Onofrio and Liev Schreiber. But even looking at this poster, like, okay, Liev Schreiber and Vincent D'Onofrio, I think have maybe in total 40 lines, and they're in like the last 20 minutes of the movie. They're shown at an earlier point in the movie, or at least one of them is shown earlier in the movie, but they're only really in the
Well,
last 20 minutes of the film.
here's the thing, and this goes back to the Matt Smith thing, but also like with the Vincent D'Onofrio and everyone else. I am not upset about it, and the more I think about it, like the more I'm like, oh no, actually, I kind of like that they did that because of the way that this movie is put together. It is different arcs. It is the you start out with him being our main character being an innocent dude. He's just trying to get his life together. He's falling apart. He's an alcoholic. His roommate ropes him into this, and then you
Right.
get more and more and more and more like it's kind of a building to a crescendo, which a lot of movies do. And the crescendo for this incident was the car crash at the end of the movie. I do wish they would have built up to that a little more. I don't know. But you still feel like, oh, it makes sense that this is how they're going to end it because he holds a lot of guilt inside of him because he killed one of his best friends in a car accident. He feels the responsibility for that. Now, granted, they didn't really do anything to resolve that in my eyes. And that
Sure.
is a minor complaint to me that they built up a lot of it. And I feel like the only crescendo that you really had for that was the car crash that he used to end the whole conflict.
Sure.
I don't think that they really like he didn't grow as a character necessarily, but I think that might have been on purpose. So, anyways, going back to the point, like every big name actor and every character serves their purpose for the section of the movie that they got. Because
Yes.
all of it is an escalation. You have to remember, yes, we're introduced to the brothers at the beginning. I can't remember their name, but they're like, oh, they're really bad, scary guys that you don't want
Right.
to mess with that
Right.
Vincent D'Onofrio plays. Is you're introduced to them and then you don't see them again. But that's because they're built up to be the worst of the worst. So they're going to come in at the later end of the movie and prove that, yes, they are the worst of the worst.
Right. Right.
Before that, you have a little bit lesser villains. You have the bumbling idiots that are kind of getting the introduction to the world of crime. And yes, you don't have Russ throughout the movie, but that's because the whole conflict of the movie is that Russ isn't there. You're not
Right.
supposed to have Russ in the movie because Russ shows up, he has an emergency, his dad dies, which apparently is the truth. I thought it was a lie as well, but his
No, no,
dad
no, but,
dies. You
yes, I
come
get what
back
you're
to it in
saying.
the end, and then he plays a big part in the 20 minutes that he's on screen leading up to his death, serving his purpose of, okay, maybe there's an upside to this now that Russ has come back. Oh no, things now just only get worse because Russ dies and now we're on our own. So that's why
Everybody
I
serves
don't
their
really have a
purpose.
problem with
No, no,
it.
no.
Maybe they should have made it
I
better,
don't
but
let me rephrase that. I don't have a problem with characters being in the movie less. I thought everybody served their purpose really well. It's again, it's why it makes this movie actually as good as it is. Everybody has a part to play. They play it really well, and that's great. It's just how they marketed it. That is the only reason I'm a little lower on that. And it's such a nitty-gritty thing, and it doesn't affect the way I view the movie. It was just one of those things of like, don't market it like that if you're gonna do that. Show the beginning scene with Matt Smith and leave it at that. Don't show him getting hit over the head with a baseball bat. Don't show the bit with the car chase. Like, leave it at that, and then like find a way to like, I don't know, just edit the trailer differently. I always go back to this trailer
and
as an
look, yeah,
example.
we've ranted so much about, I feel like we're gonna rant about this forever. It's gonna be our running bit, is how much both of us just hate the way that movies are
Sure,
and TV shows nowadays are marketed because they give away too much or they misrepresent
sure,
things. But
sure.
moving off of that, because like I see your complaint, but yeah, I have my thoughts. Is there anything else before we get into the like what we really enjoyed about the movie on like what?
No, that's pretty much it. It's just it
Okay,
really like a few minor moments, but like nothing like that's really absurd. Like, we need to talk about this type thing.
yeah, no, that's fair. But like, what did you really enjoy? Because like again, this is very much a you movie. Like I definitely felt the essence of you would have fun with this. So like, obviously, you already said
It's
you liked it, but like, what did you like about it? I guess.
again, I go back to it, and I won't harp on it too long because I already kind of talked about it in my general thoughts. But Austin Butler is he is a force to be reckoned with. He is so good in this movie. I believe every choice that he's making. I believe every action that he is doing. I believe every feeling that he's feeling in this movie. I think he does such a good job of that. Zoe Kravitz also does a really good job for the time that she's on screen. I believe the relationship that these two have. It is
Yeah,
very believable. Um, when Russ is on screen with Austin Butler, I do believe that relationship. Like, every relationship that I see on screen with this, I believe it and I get it. The corrupt cops, the corrupt detective who wants the money and basically turns on Austin Butler because, oh, she's actually in cahoots with this group and this what. I thought that was believable. I thought that I was surprised by that. I was shocked by that. That was like one of those story moments where I went, that is actually really unique. And I like that they took
so
that.
did you not predict it beforehand? Were you like genuinely like sitting there like wow
I
or
w- e- Everything they pretty much did in this movie, I was not expecting them to take that turn. I wasn't expecting Zoe Kravitz just to be dead on the floor. I would have expected her to be
yeah,
taken, or maybe her to be
that
like held as
shocked me.
ransom for whatever
Yeah.
reason. Was not expecting her to be dead on the floor. I didn't expect the detective to turn. I also didn't. I expected Russ to die. I didn't expect him to die the way he did.
Yeah, and we can talk about that as well because that was definitely something that surprised me. I didn't expect Russ to make it out of this, but the way that they ended, like, yeah, I want to get into that, but I'll let you continue.
My favorite thing about this movie, and I already mentioned it, was the mystery. I liked how the first half you're trying to figure everything out. I like how you're just just like Hank is in this film, very confused because you're actively trying to figure out. But as more people come into the room, as more people come into life, you slowly start to figure out, okay, this is probably what happened. Russ did this, these people want this, and these people want this, but Austin Butler's caught in the middle of it because he just happens to be, there, and he's watching the cat, this, that.
Yeah.
So I think that that's my favorite aspect of this movie is just that bit of the story. I could have sat in the entire movie like that and had been completely confused until like the ending when we get like a reveal or something and everything comes together. I would have been perfectly fine with that. But then we had to have a second half of the movie where everything becomes a lot more clear and it becomes more of an action set piece. I'm not upset by that,
Yeah.
but I just thought that that aspect of the film was really, really well done.
Yeah, no, I did hear a little bit of someone's thoughts on like a review when I was scrolling through, and I can't even remember who it was, but they're like, yeah, this movie takes a turn at the halfway point, and you might not enjoy it. I Yes, it becomes a lot more of an action set piece, but I still feel like it is a natural escalation to where the movie starts. Like I I I don't understand how you can be watch this movie and be like, "Oh, the second half just makes no sense for the direction that the movie was going in the first half." I think it
Sure.
is a very logical next step because, as I've mentioned, every single moment in this movie is an escalation, and that escalation has to come to a breaking point. It does come to a breaking point, that's what the car crash represents, but every single step before that, you have to get more and more ridiculous and more, I guess, higher stakes to lead into where we end the movie, which is, I guess, a lot more calm, but there's still that era of unease.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. It's I guess another thing about this film that just like they did such a good job with it. I know I mentioned the first thing I think about when I think about this film now is genuinely the cinematography. It is so beautifully shot, and it's so well shot. I'm pretty sure every single set piece in this film is practical. I think every location that's shot
Oh,
on
yeah.
is practical. I would really doubt that this is shot anywhere with like a soundstage or CGI at all. It looks really convincing. Um, and I love specifically I love the car chase. I thought it was really well done. It's small and it's simple, but it actually was really, really well done. And it added some excitement to the movie, which we hadn't been missing, but it was a different kind of excitement.
Yeah, again, the escalation.
The escalation. And honestly, let's stick with that for a second with the escalation. I feel like each bit of this movie it escalates. It gets
Mhm.
bolder and bolder and bolder, and it escalates to a higher moment. Because you start off with Austin Butler with Hank getting absolutely kicked in by the Russians. You watch him get absolutely brutally beaten in, so much so that he pisses blood. Um,
Yeah, he
like
has to lose, his liver, right? Or
right,
lose
he
his
losing his liver. Like he gets the
yeah.
crap kicked out of him. To the next thing, which is okay, we're just building some relationship. You're talking to the police. They break into his house. They're forcing him to get this safe open, this key. He escapes. All his buddies at the bar are killed. Escalating to Russ coming home. Escalating to the car chase. To getting the Hebrew crime lords, I guess is the best way to describe them, and getting them involved. Like it's just one thing after the next, but it constantly is just getting further and further out of hand. And what's funny is it's always just as you think everything's like, oh, it's gonna be really simple. This just has to happen. Nope, nope, completely off the rails. Completely, the train completely went off the track
Yeah.
and into the deep end.
Well, because the first, like, you skipped over it, but the first real breaking point in terms of, like, the escalation point, like, yes, things are getting worse. Yes, things are there's the mystery that's building. You have the chase scene with,
Mhm.
the brothers. That's their first introduction before they go away until they come back. Like, you have those moments, but that's what leads into the first major breaking point, which is Zoe Kravitz's character's death, which took me
Yes,
by surprise. That was the
yes,
moment that really kind of started the second half of the movie to me. I
sure,
don't think it was at the halfway point, but that's what that was what was the notable change that kind of flipped the script in terms of where this movie's going to go. And you know from that point forward that there's not going to be a happy ending to this. Like, yes, there's going to be a happy ending, but
sure,
that told me that they had the balls to I was genuinely scared in terms of, like, how they were gonna end this. If, like, were they going to just kill Hank? Was that going to be, like, he died taking everyone else out, and that's how he gets away scot-free? I'm not
sure.
upset that that's not how they ended the movie and that he got away and he went away, and obviously, it's a callback to the conversation he had with the detective in terms of like, "Oh, what are your thoughts?" And she's like, "I want to go away to a remote island where I'll never be found." And he does that. That is him listening to, not listening to the detective, but like taking a page out of her book, I guess. And
Sure,
so,
sure. Um, I do. Let's quickly talk about Matt Smith's death because it makes sense. He was hit in the head with a baseball bat, and
well,
then he gets in a
that
car crash in which it's like, hits the back of his head, or no, Austin Butler hits the back of his head when he tackles him
yeah.
after he tries to like basically frame him for
After he
everything so he
tackles
can get
him after
away.
trying to shoot him in the storage locker where the money is being held, which, to be fair, I solely thought that Russ was dead there when he hit his head like that in the snap that we heard. So when he died later, I wasn't surprised, but I thought that they killed him at that moment when he snapped his neck on the, like, stool or whatever it was.
No, then I genuinely really would have been upset because I'm like, brother, you did show every single one of his scenes except the storage locker scene. I'm like, what are you doing with the like? Then I genuinely would have been upset. No, but then he just dies on the bus, staring at
Yeah,
Austin Butler. I will also say this: this movie does have some comedy within it. Like it's not like it's not a comedy. It's not trying to be a comedy, but when it is funny, it's funny. Like
yeah.
it's also the type of humor where it's like, it's not like, "Oh, haha, this is clearly a joke." It's like not unintentionally funny. What am I
I
trying?
mean, it's dark humor.
It's dark humor.
It's dark humor. It's humor that you don't want to laugh at necessarily, but because of the either ridiculousness or because of the uncomfortability of the characters involved in the situation, you can't help but, like, you're not gonna roll over laughing, but you're gonna have a chuckle. Like, me and the few people that were in the audience with me, I saw this on a Thursday, so there wasn't a ton of
Right.
people in the audience. We laughed at yeah, there was a lot of moments that were funny, but it wasn't like a, "Oh, he just cracked a joke that had me
Right.
dying." It was the, "Oh my god, I can't believe they just did that." I
Or
can't tell,
or
like, only natural reaction is laughter, even though that might not necessarily be the correct reaction to what's happening. Like, if
let's
it
let
happened in real life, you wouldn't be laughing.
let's use the example of the one of the final scenes in this film is Hank shows up dressed as Russ in Russ's clothes, mohawk and everything,
Yep.
and he's trying to get through airport security dressed as Russ.
Mind
It's
you,
funny, but it's not like the most hysterical thing you've ever seen. It's just fun. It's a fun funny. That's probably the best way to look at it.
yeah, mind you, this movie takes place 2 years before 9/11, I think, 3 years. I think it was,
Yes.
what, 1998?
I think it's
You
98.
do actually, funny enough, they were detailed. You see the Twin Towers in the background of one of the shots. They were still standing.
Yeah.
Also, he got through the airport security way easier than you would nowadays.
Yes, yes.
But that
Um,
was one thing that I really did enjoy is the movie like, the movie was obviously very New York. It was a very
mhm.
New York movie, but they did a really good job. I mean, I'm not a New Yorker, so maybe I'm off base here, but it, to me, it felt like authentic New York for the time. They did a
It
good job with the setting.
it felt like bustling New York. It felt like the when they were in a higher area, it was the higher area of New York. When it was a lower, less common area of New York, it was a lower, less common area of New York. But it
Yeah.
felt like the people of New York City. Like that's the biggest compliment you can give it, is it felt like the people of New York City. And I loved that.
Yeah.
I also am kind of happy for a film set in New York because films will do this. I'm glad they didn't go to Times Square or, like, show, like, a big shot of Times Square because,
Yeah,
like,
'cause this was very much a, like, back alley New
y
York
well,
that they
correct.
focused
They
on.
also didn't show the Statue of Liberty either, did they? Like, I don't recall them doing
Not
that.
that the only thing, and it was never the focus of a shot, but it was in the background, and I clocked it, was the Twin Towers. That was the only thing that was off in the background that was, like, I guess, a major New York landmark for the time that I noticed.
I
But I
kinda
don't
respect
remember seeing the
that.
Statue of Liberty. They definitely didn't go to Times Square.
I kinda respect that for the film because it means they actually, like, took their time, they thought through, and they didn't feel like they needed the visual spectacle of, "Oh, we're in New York City. Oh, look, there's that show that was going on in 1998," or there was that Statue of Liberty during 1980. Like, they didn't feel like they needed that. Now, I also don't know if that's because the film's budget, they really couldn't renovate Times Square to look like it was from the 90s. But I think that they did a really remarkable job putting like just the atmosphere of the world together without having to show any of like the big highlighted points of what people who are tourists go to New York for. They showed the parts of New York of people who live in New York, you know, and I really do appreciate that.
Yeah. No, and yeah, again, neither of us are New Yorkers, but I do appreciate how often, like, for instance, one moment when they're in the bar and New York is very compact and he has to go under, like, in the bar, behind the bar there's a staircase that leads downstairs into a cellar that's basically the main area of, like, the bar's operations. Like, there's no
Right.
back rooms like there is in a bigger city or a regular restaurant. Like, no, everything is very compact, up and down focused, as opposed to wide, which is, to me, very authentic to what I picture New York being.
Sure. Sure. Um, Look, I'm gonna be completely honest here. I don't have much more thoughts about it. We've pretty much summed up everything I'm gonna say. We can talk about more if we want, but like every major thing I've wanted to talk about, I talked about. This film is pretty much, in my opinion, accurately ranked where it is. It is a good movie. I do not think it's for everybody.
No.
I do feel like there are some people who would go to this movie and go, "Yeah, it was okay," or maybe even some people would actually outright call it bad. However, this film is the type of film I feel like we need in Hollywood nowadays because it's bold, it makes choices, and it does allow you to be taken on this journey and not feel very apologetic about it either.
Yeah.
The acting and the cast is incredible. I actually see why these actors would have wanted to be a part of this script for the same reason of what I just listed out. Um, Butler, Kravitz, Smith, Schreiber, D'Onofrio, all of them putting on even Bad Bunny, even Bad Bunny, all putting on. Regina King. I'm completely forgetting her in there too. All of them putting on really really well done performances with a pretty competently written script with a story that genuinely, again, very interesting. Um, the highest praise I can give this movie is that it did what it was supposed to do, and it allowed me to escape into a different reality for a few hours and enjoy it. So
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And honestly, like, I think we've talked about most of the things for this movie. I agree. Like, we could force ourselves to talk more, but at the same time, I don't want to feel inauthentic. Like, we both enjoyed the
sure,
movie. It was a good
right.
movie. I think people, if the trailer was interesting to you, you will probably enjoy them. Oh, actually, scratch that. Hard pause. Before I get into my final thoughts, there's one thing that was not anywhere in the trailers that I noticed that played a major role in this movie that I'm curious to see if if you even have thoughts on this, and that was baseball. Baseball was
Oh yeah,
shoved down. They could not go 5 minutes without bringing up baseball. Like, whether it was that he used to play baseball, whether it was the baseball teams that they were rooting for, whether it was, like, a baseball game would pop up on screen for 2, like, baseball was a very big core to this movie. To me, I thought it was interesting. I do feel like it was a little overused. I'm going to be honest with you. I get that the reason why is because they're setting up how his career ended because of an injury. And again, that leads into the crescendo of the movie and his relationship with his mom. The only reason why I feel like it was overused is because the only any semblance of a payoff that we get with it is the ending with the car crash. It's the
sure.
only payoff we get for the sheer amount that they bring up baseball. And it kind of feels like they're just trying to humanize Mark more than or Hank, I don't know why I said Mark, Hank, than anything else, in terms of, like, oh, he's a real New Yorker. He roots for baseball. That's what connects him to his mom. That's what his career was. I get it. I don't have a problem with that. But for the sheer amount that they brought up baseball in this movie, and in the whole relationship that we had with Zoe Kravitz's character being, hey, you need to get your life together, maybe not pursue baseball again, but you need to do something with your life that's more than what you're doing now in order for
Sure.
me to believe that you're taking this seriously. It felt kind of weird like I didn't have a problem with it for most of the movie, but there were some points where I'm like, okay, this feels excessive. Did you feel that? Do you have any thoughts on that at
Not that
all?
it was excessive. I can see how some people would see it's excessive. I saw it as like a afterthought to the rest of the movie. I feel
Yeah.
like they saw the analogy of caught stealing and they thought stealing first base, let's humanize him by really liking baseball. And this is who this guy was to him. He was a big baseball player. He ruined his knee, this, that, whatever. He basically couldn't play it again. Like, okay, that's a way to humanize him. But I think that idea was an afterthought. It didn't kill the mood. It didn't kill the movie by
No,
any
no,
means.
no.
But
Yeah.
I feel like it was definitely more of an afterthought compared to the rest of the plot. I think it was just more of like one of those things of like, oh, this could actually be really clever. I wish we would have written this more into the script to begin with, or let's just throw it in here. Let's just see what happens. It was okay. Like, I didn't hate it. Again, as a baseball fan, I thoroughly enjoy it, but it didn't like do anything where I was like, okay, yeah, this completely tanked the movie or this really elevated the movie. It just was there. It was okay. It did its
Yeah,
job.
I think
It served its purpose. That's the best way to say it.
Yeah, I think you mentioning that it was an afterthought definitely I feel that. I think that's a good way to put it. Again, yes, they have the payoff with the car crash, but that wasn't the baseball payoff. That was the car crash payoff, which
Sure.
yes is tied to baseball, but again, yes, there's character growth and progression, but that felt so core to his character that I expected more of a payoff with it or something to happen. Maybe he goes to a baseball game and there's a chase at the baseball game. Like, you don't even have anything like that. So that was kind of, I guess, interesting. I was just, for again, how much they brought it up, I expected a little more. For
Sure.
how core it is, I don't think it was an afterthought, but I feel like they didn't think about where they were going to take it, and they kind of just ended that plot line. Like every other plot line feels pretty wrapped up. That's the only one that I felt like was core to the movie, but didn't really have like any payoff other than the car crash. But other than
Yeah.
that, getting into my final thoughts on the movie to wrap this up,
Ugh.
I enjoyed it. I don't know where it ranks in my movies of the year, but it's definitely not going to be on my worst of the year list. It was a good time. If you enjoy the trailer, watch the movie. If you don't, this might not be the movie for you. I think the acting really good. All the characters do phenomenal in their roles. The action set piece is really well produced. Everything is very real feeling. Again, we talked about how New York feels very real and for the times. I think that stuff works really well for the movie. Do I think it's a perfect movie? Absolutely not. But not every movie needs to be. So yeah, that's my general thoughts on Caught Stealing. Carson, I'll kick it back to you.
Any final thoughts, my friend? Any final words or send offs? Would you like to apologize one more time? Would you?
No, no, I already said my piece. So we forgot to talk about what we are going to talk about next week. So obviously Peacemaker episode 3 or
Right.
4, sorry, episode 4.
Right.
I don't want
It,
to have to lock us in on something and put you on the spot here. I
it'll be a
will say
surprise.
it'll be a
It'll
surprise.
be a surprise. We'll see
I
what
will
happens.
tease there are 2 major movie releases that are coming out next week. I know one of them Carson's not going to watch, so I'll just say what it is. It's Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. That movie I'm seeing in IMAX. Hope I actually I might not see it in time for the podcast because I think I'm seeing it like after we record. So I'll
Yeah.
probably talk about the week after, but I will talk about that. Carson hasn't watched Demon Slayer, so he probably won't be engaged with that, but I'll post a short about it. I'll talk about it. There's another movie. I'm not going to say what it is just because I don't want to lock us into that being the topic of conversation, but either way, whether we review it or not, I will see it. And if it's not the topic of conversation, I'll still bring it up similar to the way that I did Neja 2. But just know that we are at very least talking about Peacemaker episode 4 and then insert something else.
Sure. Sure. Cool. Cool, 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 as Jake Peralta would say. Cool, 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 cool. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Ugh. You're wearing the suit. You're looking so nice. I'm gonna try to make this look nicer. Let's
Thank
get
you. Thank
professional
you.
here. Uh Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us once again for another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast. If you like what you heard, you like what you saw, give us a like, give us a follow. You can follow us on you can follow us and find us on all streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast. You name it, we are there. I can promise you. You can follow us on all social media platforms at Nerdy Nimrods. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Brandon, stay nerdy.